today we're talking about mathematics as it relates to paintless dent repair. Of all of the circle, regular curves, spirals, and helices are probably the most common. They are found throughout the natural world in many forms at every scale of existence. It's clearly one of nature's favorite patterns. Mathematics is the fastest way to understand and apply paintless dent repair rules and procedures. I'm going to explain this based upon 5 primary factors. Now, in this short amount of time, you need to just understand that these are disciplines within paintless dent repair that go much deeper. I'm just going to touch the surface. Number 1, the golden ratio. Number 2, geometry. Number 3, chaos theory and fluid dynamics. Number 4, physics. Number 5, splash analysis. Imagine dropping a perfect hailstone ball from 50,000 feet up onto the hood of a car. Golden ratio. The hailstone at terminal velocity will strike the panel. Physics. Creating a circular dent, splash analysis, and slightly raising the metal around that crater. Physics and fluid dynamics. Let's jump in. Number 1, the golden ratio, or Fibonacci's number, is found everywhere in our bodies, art, plants, to our very DNA. It's quite simply the very mathematical code of the universe. Here is a video of how a typical circle dent is repaired. If you follow Fibonacci's number exactly in the core of a dent with multiple passes. Now obviously no dent is a perfect circle with a perfectly round bottom. However, if it were and you could control the exact pressure and you followed Fibonacci's number, it would result in an absolute perfect repair. Mathematically, it is possible under those conditions to pull that off without the need of a knockdown. Number 2, geometry. Paintless dent repair does use geometry to understand how sheet metal will perform under a number of variables, primarily in weak and tight areas. If you pull a dent in the left quadrant, you know how the material will respond in the right quadrant. You can determine how the metal will respond by its type, where its brace points are located, the type of pull-push that you made or intend to make, and where. Even for technicians that may not be aware of it directly, they are determining the next chest move based upon thousands of iterations with similar situations and how it moved in the past. That's experience. Well, what is that experience? That experience is understanding geometry. Much like a a good pull player, the guy that you meet at the pool hall, versus somebody that's on the pro tour, there's a huge difference. The guy on the pro tour understands the math drastically better than the guy that's playing in a pub somewhere. In both disciplines, oftentimes, this is mistaken for art or magic, but it really isn't. There's nothing mysterious or miraculous about it. It's just pure practical math. Number 3, chaos theory and fluid dynamics. They explain very complex patterns based upon trillions of variables. For example, weather may seem to be random, but according to chaos theory, it isn't. And although fluid dynamics deals strictly with wind and water, it does seem to be a better predictor of metal than chaos theory. The equations seem to plug in significantly better with what's really happening on a macro level to dented panels. It's almost like at higher speeds, when these are getting impacts, they're essentially becoming fluid. It also seems to hold true when reversing the dynamics based upon at least the charts that I've created today. Number 4, physics and modern crumple zones. Cars are created to crumple when they crash. This will extend the length of the impact to reduce the acceleration of the stop. Unlike cars in the 1960s, newer cars have drastically changed the metals around the 50 centimeters of crushable space. Newer cars dissipate about 60 more tons of thrust from a given impact than they did in the 1960s. To kind of give you a scale, that's 1/6 of the thrust of one of the engines on the space shuttle, which is really good for human bodies because speed has never killed anybody. It's the stopping really fast that kills you. Number 5, splash analysis. Splash analysis is something we use in the military for incoming mortar rounds. Based upon the depth and angle of the strike, we can determine direction, type of round, and ultimately where the enemy is located, in this case, the dent. Therefore, it is essential to understand how to properly read the splash to understand where and how to best counterstrike the enemy. This parallels the preparation phase of PDR in 2 ways. It allows you to understand how damage occurs and what key factors to look for within the splash. Now, guys, I realize that very well may not make a whole lot of sense right now. I will be going into further depth later, and I needed to build this foundational block. I hope this is helping you guys. Let's get on to the next vlog.